Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Pernilla Helmersson and this is the second Adventure of Creation webinar. And today I have the outrageously beautiful, outrageously funny, outrageously potent, outrageously just phenomenal Rachael O Brien with me. She's Access Consciousness Facilitator and she's an Enjoy Your Business Facilitator, and she's a magician with bodies, and she's traveling the world with her classes and body work, and I'm so happy to call her my friend, and we've had many fun times together where we just laughed our ass off, because that's usually what you do with Rachael, you laugh your ass off. And I'm so happy to have her here with us today, and we're going to talk about money and business. So if you have any questions, just pop it in the chat or email me or Facebook me, or we'll deal with it. It's easiest if you're just online and write it in the chat or live. So hello Rachael, how you be? Happy to have you here.
Thanks for that. And it's so amazing when you talk about me like that. Sometimes I'm like, is that me? And thanks for saying that. Like, it is us, and not only me, that's you, and that's all of our true capacity. We have a true capacity to create our life, you know. And a lot of us don't really like grow up with that level of acknowledgement and support for you to actually like be that outrageously funny, be that outrageously creative, be that outrageously different, you know what I mean? Be that outrageously caring. And when you say you're privileged to call me your friend, and it's so funny, I've had that a lot said to me lately, that I'm privileged to be your friend, and I'm actually privileged to actually have you in my life. And for me, for someone to actually say that to you, it erupts something in my body and my being that is like, if this person is calling me their friend, what a privilege for me, and how can I support them to choose for them and to be the greatness that they are in the world. So and I'm here for the long haul, you know. I'm here for the long haul, and I suppose that's the thing that I always say to myself. For me, being a facilitator is when I truly be me. Being in question with my friends is when I truly be me. And sometimes we give up on that explosive being and joy. So thank you for being that for me, because when we're being that for each other, then it gives it a chance for it to grow and expand more and more and more and more, you know.
Yeah, let's acknowledge each other even more. And just, that is one of the things that came up now. Like, I'm so grateful that you are like always willing to be vulnerable, and like when we talk, it's never like, oh, how's the weather, blah blah. It's always like straight to the point, and this is crappy, or this is what's going on. And that's like, it's so rare in this world to have someone to be that real with. That's, you're like brutally honest at where you're at, and it's so refreshing. You don't put up a front or an image, and that is not coming in this world, and that's what I really appreciate about you.
Thanks for saying that. Just on that topic, I sometimes make that. I see people like energetically. I know we have amazing capacities with energy, and I know if something isn't working in someone's life. So for me, it's to acknowledge when something's not working in my life. If I can't be vulnerable, which is being with the limitation, and you know, where I'm not being my infinite being in that. For what reason would I cover that up when I actually have a conversation with someone, or they ask me a question? It can expand it so fast. So thanks for saying that. And I naturally be it. It's not something that I have to work at. You know, the way sometimes I was listening to Curry Glassell with money, she was saying that she naturally has a capacity to create lots. Some people have capacities with business, you know. So I have a capacity. Oh, you've got some feedback.
Because I can see if I can mute. How do you do that again? Let's see how you do.
You just click in the left-hand corner and mute the person. Yeah. If you're on the call, you might just mute yourself so that when you get the recording that you can listen to it with ease.
Exactly. Ease, joy, and glory.
Yeah. So the vulnerability is something that seems to come with ease to me. It always didn't. My defense mechanism would either have been anger or pathetic, or whereas and I see how that creates nothing. It only keeps an old pattern in place. Whereas now I'm like, hey, when Gary is writing the 10 Keys to Freedom, there's a point in there where he says, would an infinite being truly choose this? And if you get a no on it, and he's like, well, how do we actually be with the no and love it and receive it? And one thing I do know, I've been around a while now, and one thing I do know is when you're being with a limitation with no point of view, you're so present with the molecules that instead of the molecules becoming so solid, when you're being with it, it's like it amalgamates possibility to it, because you've no point of view and you're like, hi, here's a limitation and I don't think I can do that. And then just even receiving it just allows a solid, it just amalgamates the space, exactly. Yeah. So that's something that I have learned, and I know that it works. So there's a massive gift when you're willing to be vulnerable with a belief, whatever your consideration is or whatever your point of view is. And what doesn't work for me, I'm going to be straight out, is that, and this is what I love about us and having conversations with people like this, what doesn't work for me is when people aren't being pretending that everything is like ease, joy and glory, and it's so obvious that it's not.
Yeah.
And what these tools are is to bring anything that's we're struggling with, which is a finite point of view, to the infinite. And with all, not only with the Access body work, but with every body of work, it always says, when you're with what is, it gives it actually the space for it to change when you acknowledge it,
Yeah, and that's what a gift, because it's like you say, like we are aware, and we are aware if you're pretending to be something that you're not, and put them up front. And sometimes maybe it's necessary to do so, but like you say, we actually solidify it, and when we're not willing to look at it, and we can't really change it. So that is really the tools in action: being vulnerable with it, being in allowance of it, letting it be there, asking questions about it, so it actually can transform and change into something greater. And that is such a gift.
And that's something that we haven't been allowed to do in the world. We haven't been allowed, hey, you know what, there's something going on with me here, and it's not light and it's not fun. And then actually getting the support in that place, it's not something that's trained in this reality. We're trained to defend. So when I say it doesn't work for me, I'm in total allowance of it. But it doesn't work for me when I'm actually in relationships that are creating projects or creating a future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I work with people, it's a lot more ease for me when they're clear and they're present with what is, so we can look at it and change it,
For sure. And that's an amazing tool in of itself, to say, this is not working for me, because that is not making the other person wrong. It's actually being an allowance of you and the other person, and looking at other different possibilities. And it's a tool you can use in business, in your relationship. I've used it in my past relationship, and yeah, it's an amazing tool. So now we're getting into the tools here. And the theme is actually business and money. So I am so curious, Rachel, which is your favorite money tool right now? Do you want to share it with us?
Yeah, I just put it on the chat. How do I get? Yeah, so this is one that just popped up. It's from actually the COP. I facilitate, as you know, I facilitate a lot around the money. There is a self. I'm included in that choice. I grew up. My mother has a massive lack universe. My father wasn't around when I was a kid. So basically there was no money. I don't mean like people say there's no money and they have $1,000 in their checking account. Like, I'm talking about no money. So I had to get a job at 14. I chose to. And the when you grow up with that lack of support and that sense of lack, it actually affects, and with those points of views, those thoughts, these beliefs and emotions with money, it actually affects every relationship you have. It affects your relationship with money. It affects your relationship with my father and my kids. It affected my relationship with my children. It affected my relationship with the world. It affected my relationship with the universe. And I wasn't creating a relationship with money based on what my reality is. And that's how come I absolutely now adore the money conversation, because I see how I had a belief system where there's never enough and don't ask for anything. And it's so far away from the truth. Like, it's so far away from what the truth is. And, you know, when we look at the word belief, a belief is something that you took on. That's not a truth. It's a perception, you know. So my favorite tool at the moment, and when I'm looking to manipulate myself into choosing more, is how do I go around my own sense of lack to create something greater. So how do I go around my own sense of lack to create something greater? Now, an add-on on this is that what I know, when people, there's a money workbook in Access, How to Become Money workbook. When you know you have a lack around something, it's a lot more ease for me I can facilitate someone, including myself, when I'm like, hey, I can't afford it. I have a point of view, I can't afford it. Now, I always link whatever I'm looking at, whether it be money, sex, business, relationship, I always link it to one of the 10 keys to freedom. And with an infinite being, choose this choice. Okay. And I'm only getting really clear on choice myself, you know, because this whole choosing thing is not actually nurtured in this reality. Like, you just going off to Australia. How many people go, are you crazy? Where are you going? How are you going to make money? Blah, blah, blah. They look to shut off like what you can create, your true capacity to create your life. So when you look at like the choice with money, so when you choose a point of view, you know, I haven't got enough, or I won't be able to afford that, you actually are, like, what you think and what you say is creating your reality. So you're magnetizing everything to align with that. That's the message you're giving out. Whereas when you're with the universe and you're like, hey, I would really like to choose something different, and I would like to create a future with me that actually includes money. And I would like to use money to create a greater possibility. Okay? That choice then amalgamates so many possibilities. It just amalgamates so many possibilities. And then the universe magnetizes everything to that. So what I've become aware of is when people show up and do the money workbook, like, people can be sick during these calls. They can, like, this thing is actually like locked in their cellular blueprint. Like, their response to money is an energetic pathway, which is really funny. And what do I mean by that is, all I ever, my mother being like, like this. So my response to money was like this, you know? And that's an energetic pathway that we mimic. And like that, there's no friggin' ease, joy, and glory in that. Like either we're contracting or expanding in every moment, and we're looking to expand people's lives and their own bodies. So like, how many contractions have you solidified in your body around money that aren't even yours, you know? And everything that is times the gods in destroy and uncreated, all good and bad, right and wrong, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and girls. So I always say, this choice piece and looking at what you actually can choose, and then continuing. You see, what you choose today creates your tomorrow. And what I'm choosing now, being on this call with you, is like, hey, I love these tools. I love talking to my friends. I love creating relationships of possibility. I love talking about money. That's actually creating my future. That's tomorrow or the next 10 seconds. And instead of looking at like 5 years, and you can, but I'm always looking at like, what is it I'm doing and being today that's creating tomorrow's reality. Okay. And it's so cool. And this whole choice and money piece, it's so far removed from cultural, systemic, family systemic points of views that are embedded from us when we're even in utero, you know?
Yeah, you're so funny. You just answered all the questions I had in my head. So it's so easy to interview you and talk to you, Rachel. I love it. You're
I know.
Yeah.
On that piece as well. So basically, I know that like when we talk, you kind of erupt so much of what I know, and you kind of activate it. So what I've also seen with the money piece is that people make themselves so wrong, and when you make yourself wrong, you're actually like resisting a change. So what I see with people, I got a phone call from someone yesterday and they were like, hey, I made $100 today. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool, you know? And then I got a friend on Facebook, Reed Garcia, or someone on Facebook, I can't remember who, said, hey, I just got a raise, and it was $3 an hour. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And it reminds me of the money workbook. The money workbook says, be grateful for every dollar. And what I have to really dig deep for in my own day-to-day living is gratitude for every buck. Okay, now this is what's changing my own financial reality at the moment. It's like if you get $600 or €600 or whatever it is where you are, and you're like, oh, this is going to pay the mortgage, and this is going to pay the bill, and this is going to pay this. There's actually no receiving of what you've just created.
Right.
There's absolute, like, and I've been playing with this energy for a couple of weeks now, you know, and there's like, I'm just going to open my wallet, and it's like, can you imagine if I'm looking to build a relationship, and this for me is yummy, it's sexy, it's fun, you know, it supports me, it gives me a beautiful place to live, it makes life so much easier and glory. I wouldn't be able to have my computer, paid for my computer, and come on to you only for having this paper and creating it, you know. So this to me actually is the tool for me to create my business and my life, and I'm the source of the creating it. It's what I do that either creates more or less, you know. So like, can you imagine if this is coming to me, right, and I'm like, I have to pay my mortgage with you, and I have to do this with you, and I have to do that with you. Like, would you like to come play with me if I talk to you like that?
Exactly. Yeah, that's such a vital thing, to be grateful for what you already have and then just keep asking for more. I had such a silly example today. I got an email from MailChimp, which is the program I use for my email and newsletter. And it said like, oh, you're going to get charged more because you just reached the limit of how many people you can have on your list.
Woohoo!
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, another expense. And then I was like, hey, wait a minute. That means that my business is growing and I have more people on my list. Hey, that's cool. Like, what else is possible now? And yeah, just remember to celebrate all of our everything that is, you know, comes to us, and that yeah, just shows up for us with magic. And yeah, I love that.
Totally. And so now what I be and do with money is like, hi, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for coming into my life. Like, I didn't have this money last night. I have it today. It was given to me last night. So I was like, hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is so cool. And then I leave it and I have it. And then I'm like, okay, now I am going to use you for this or this or this, this. When I put you into this, can you make me more money? Now, the funny thing is this money was given to me to put into pay a mortgage account. Okay. It's a house that I co-own with the father and my kids. And I said thanks, and I left it sitting on my counter all night. I'm away a lot in March, and I was like, hey, house, can you make money? And can this money bring me money? I got a reservation for my little 1-bed cottage this morning on Airbnb for 7 nights. And for 7 nights, I get paid $600 while I'm away. So the cottage is working for me while I'm away. So you see, this doesn't fit into this reality. How are they linked? Of course they're linked. I thanked the money. I left it on the counter. I asked it to bring me more, and I asked the house to contribute to my life and my living. Not many people, though, are willing to function from that magic.
No, ask and you shall receive. It is magic. And I love what you talked about in the beginning about choice, because when you're choosing your reality with money, like I am right now, I'm choosing to move to a beautiful house in the Sunshine Coast, and it's the most expensive rent I ever had in this lifetime. And right now I'm like, oh my God, but it's like so light and so expensive, and I know I'm going to get money for it, you know, because it just hit me like, have I never ever not been able to pay my rent? And I was like, no, never, because you choose and then the universe follow, and oh, you want money for a higher rent, of course you're gonna have that, you know, because I made the choice and I'm willing to create it. So it's so exciting to just make those big choices and see what a potent creator I am and you are. And yeah, it's just magic.
You see, and that's the piece, that's where we all kind of, where we can, let's say, fall at the hurdle. You know what I mean? It's like, you've got to look at, like, your choice today creates the world that you have tomorrow, and then you've got to pull energy. There seems to be this thing that you have to choose, and then whatever is required in this physical reality shows up. And that's the thing that I have to learn to trust in myself. And I use the 5 elements of intimacy with that. Is that, how come this time last year, like, I didn't have the house that I have now? The house was actually being repossessed because we got into financial difficulties, and just through lack of presence with money, it was a really cool story how I turned it around, you know. And now, like, there's all the debt that's on that house is cleared, and it's making money for me, you know what I mean? So it's so cool how we choose to pay something. When I chose to pay it, everything shifted and changed so fast. And choice really does create, and it's to trust that. And there's no, like, we really wish that I could give you a formula for choice. There is no formula. There is no, like, 2 eggs, 3 cups of flour, half a cup of milk. You know what I mean? It's
just do it, like Nike says.
Yeah, just do it. And guess what? It's so much ease that you actually have misidentified how much ease it is for you to choose. And what I'm always saying to people is, look at something that you chose with no point of view. And I'm just laughing. My friend who I'm in her house, she went across the road to the store, and she's got cheese and grapes and beautiful stuff for our lunch when we finish this call. So I'm like, yay!
Yummy!
I know. I know. And see, and the other thing is that it doesn't make sense in this reality how I can actually generate more money when I'm taking more time for myself and my body.
Right.
And yet I am.
Exactly. That's the magic of the access body processes. And like we talked about creation, like sometimes when I have a lot of things to do, I still choose to get my bars right, because then when you go to do the things you're going to do, it's way faster because you have more space and you let go of the limitations and you let go of so much that is not you. So I know what you're talking about, and it's so worth it to choose the body work, and it's actually creating a lot. And like, okay, so everything we decided creation is that it isn't, and everything we decided creation is that it isn't, that it is. Let's destroy and create all of that, right, wrong, good and bad, fun, fuck, all nature, boys and beyonds, because everything is really creation. When I go to the toilet, I usually have ideas. When I shower, I have ideas. When it's on the beach, I nurture my body and I create my business just by being there. So it's creation is so much more than we ever can imagine.
And the other thing, it's creation is effortless when we actually allow it to flow. You know, when we actually allow it to flow with the ease of the water, or, you know, a waterfall, and when we're actually in the congruence of the space where we know, like, this is one thing I've committed to myself this year. When I ask for something, that I continue to ask for it. Because before it was like, again, I'm referencing the money workbook because I've done it so many times. You put a golf ball on the tee and you choose, let's say for me, I'm choosing a move in May. I'm choosing to move, maybe not out of Ireland, probably Dublin, and then in 2 years a move either Australia or America. Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'm really clear on what it is. For the first time ever, I'm clear on what I'd like to have in my future, but not from a solidified point of view, from the point of view I'm not choosing to live in Ireland after a couple of years. And for right now, my son is 18 in April, and I'd like to be around for another couple of years for him. And then I can do whatever the hell. And that works for me. I like to contribute to him. I like to contribute to his life. Mm-hmm. So what I would see before is I would choose it. And let's say the choice is like the golf ball, and I put it on the tee. And I whip it away just as fast as I choose it. And in my daily life, or in my moment to moment of choosing, am I actually pulling energy to that choice? Okay. And am I actually willing to actually be and do what's required for that to actually become physically actualized or physically instituted? And before, I was with certain things, but I wasn't really committed to me in my life. And I really get that that's a process, because I'm aware that in Access at the start we're choosing for we're choosing cause for people are, and then I see people do it 3 or 4 years and something changes where they really start to choose for themselves.
Yeah.
They actually include themselves in the choice, and they start to care for themselves, and they start to not flip away what someone says when they introduce them. They actually say, this is how this person actually sees me in the world. You know what I mean? So that presence, and that presence with the choice and the continuous choice. And if you change it, it's like the whole point of what I'm saying is that when we choose something, we have got a universe that is willing to contribute to us and desires us to have that, and is on your team, like you're on it's on your team. And if you grow up with people that have always battered your choice away, or not acknowledged you, or your creative capacities, or not encouraged you, then you actually have to be that for yourself, and get with people that are willing to live from that. And I do actually I do know for me, we do require support. We do require other people around us that are on our team, and I see how Gary Douglas, who's the creator of Access, how his creations flourished when Dane came on 13 years ago. So as a people, we do actually require that support and that caring, and then the energy of the universe becomes actually a physical actualization through someone sitting with you, through a conversation,
Yeah.
And when I'm asking now, I'm asking from that place that the universe desires to be that for Rachel. And I suppose for me, I still have a little bit of a point of view with like me. Yes. And now I say that doesn't matter what my viewpoint is, I'm willing to choose that.
Oh, how does it get any better? And it's all about also acknowledging when it shows up, like you're being that with the universe, you're creating with the universe. Because I went back and I looked at a list of targets I had, and I'm like, wow, like everything showed up, but not in the way I thought, but it's showing up. And another thing I want to say about acknowledgement, that you sent me the most beautiful like voice message like on New Year's, like acknowledging me for what I'm being in the world, and you're acknowledging me for our creation that we created during 2016. And I just sat there with tears in my eyes, and I get tears in my eyes now too, because when we acknowledge each other, we just actually grow and we expand and we step into more possibilities, and it just opened up for so much for me. And like it's such a gift when we're willing to acknowledge each other and for who we be in the world.
And that's so funny. That's another commitment I made. I have this thing that I used to do where, and it was, I'm in a relationship. My, insignificant other is a guy called Johnny, and we took some time away from each other for about 4 weeks because it just wasn't working. And it was so beautiful that two beings that like adore each other's bodies, lick each other from head to toe, like just like literally he touches me and my body's like, and it was so gorgeous that we had totally different. There was something not working in our relationship, and we live in two different cities that are 2.5 hours away from each other. And when one of us was staying with the other, it just there's something locked in where it became a strain instead of ease, joy, and glory. Me not willing to be me when he was staying with me, and him not willing to be him when I was staying with him. Our daily routine for 2 days just was getting slightly etched to fit in with the other person, which never works, right? Now, the reason I'm talking about this is one of the things he had said to me when we were talking about what or not works. He said, it is very sad for me to see one of the most amazing creators I know constantly not acknowledge what they're creating. And it was like, oh! And I went, and he said, have you any idea what it's like to be around you and see how people adore you and your creation, and to see you not receive that? That actually is so disempowering of you, and I'm the one that's witnessing it, and it doesn't work for me.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like someone just caught something and I was like, I knew it was the truth. And for him to be willing to say that and not compromise, if I say this is going to upset the cart, being willing to deal with the consequences in his past relationship, someone would have chopped his balls off if he said that, you know, that he was willing to say that for me. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You know, you are absolutely, you know, it's true what you're saying. And so that's the commitment I made. I sat down over the Christmas when I had quiet times, which I did this year. And I know now how come I chose that quiet 3 weeks, where I actually looked at everything, and I allowed myself to sleep extra if it's what I required. I allowed myself to talk to friends. I really just took the brakes off the pedal, you know. And what I did was I looked back last year on all the creations that I actually didn't even know that I created.
Wow. Oh, and I just wanted to acknowledge John too. Like, how many people have a person in their life that actually can see, not only see the contribution you be in the world, but also acknowledge it. Like, I've been with men that they can't even see me. They can't even see what I'm creating. They can't even see my capacities or what I'm being in the world. And like, just for you to have someone like that is there for you with no judgment. And then, yeah, it's just so beautiful. It's just like, wow.
Yeah, and the other thing in all of this is that, and that's the incredible piece, that acknowledging. Just today, like, what if you could just sit down and say 5 things that you've actually created, that you have put your energy into, and they have become a physical actualization, you know.
Yeah.
For me, what I've created, like last year, 6 foundations, 5 money telecalls, money classes in Europe. And I'm going around pretending I did nothing. You know what I mean? So like, what lies are you buying about you that's not true? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so common that we tell ourselves that we're not creating enough, we're not being enough, instead of, like you did, like, actually look at what did I do 2016, and then you're going to probably have a longer list than you ever might have think you would.
And it was so lovely for me. Isn't it amazing that someone would call that work? I contacted everyone that I worked with last year, and I looked at my relationship with that person that's so different to my, like, you know, my relationship with you was so different to my relationship with Susanna or Soren or Sue or other people that I created with. And to the energy that I have with people are so different, you know. And when I looked at the two of us, like, snuggling in Florence, we shared a bed, we ran body processes on each other, and it's like you're like a little Chihuahua or like a little Yorkshire Terrier going, do you know how amazing you are? And that's and if you haven't got someone like that in your life, what would it take for you to actually, like, have someone and receive someone who's actually willing to be your little cheerleader? And I'm not saying, like, validate you, I'm saying willing to go, hey, that was awesome, you know, go again, you know.
Yeah, I'll definitely have more of those people in my life.
For sure.
And that acknowledgement alone led to us talking more, and that we actually started talking about creating something new, because we actually did something for Valentine's last year that was so much fun, this sex revolution.
We had so much fun
with Johanna Pansera. And we started talking about.
We had so much fun.
Yeah, go on.
Well, you know, the thing about it is, you showed me something. The two of us have a lot of ease with talking about sex and bodies, and like massage, and what we like licked, and what we like to lick, and what we like to move, and how we talk to the bodies, that, like, and it's not just about and like how much we like to be touched. And so and we're quite naive in that we thought everyone was like that, you know.
Right.
So I was so grateful.
Yeah, me too. And even the guy I'm seeing now, he's like, wow, I've never met anyone that has so much ease with sex like you do, sex and bodies. I'm like, huh. He's like, maybe you should do a telecall on that. I'm like, oh, I'm actually already creating it with Rachel. So we're actually going to do it for this Valentine's too. The book club of Sex is Not a 4-Letter Word, but Love of the Time Is, from Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane. So that's coming soon to you guys. We'll let you know when we have more information on it. And Rachel, do you have any money classes right now, or business classes, or joy business?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. There's a bit coming up. That's so funny, because I just spent the last week creating being like, "Boo!" There's a money call coming up on February the 20th. These money calls are, I can't even begin to say what they add to your life. You get really clear on like, do you ask yourself, do I actually hate money? Is it sexy for me? Is it fun for me? And you get to be really present with money. And this one actually is a 10-week call, $400, which is so cheap, and you get a 15. Apparently I'm a bit cheap, and I'm willing to be that for now, and I'll change that. I have no judgment over that. And you get a 15-minute session with me, simply because what doesn't work for me is if someone if they can get lost in a big class. People can get lost in big classes, and what I see is when I do 15-minute sessions with someone, I'm just aware of where they are, I'm aware of their limitations, and I'm aware of how I can tease them with them to create a greater possibility. So these calls, whatever I've created, the people on the calls, we have a Facebook group, become really supportive of each other. There's a real, get the energy of it, there's a real, like, we're all in this together, let's move along and let's choose more. So that's February 20th. And then myself and Tom Verbroken are back together. Not back together, we've come together again.
Yeah.
I love that guy. In business, and I can only talk about what I know. In business, there's something missing in that if you're a coach and you're looking to create your business and you use the tools, when it comes to the action piece, I required MailChimp training. I required Zoom training. I required a system to record my telecalls. I required a system to send the recordings. I required something that made me present with clients and were growing my business, and I didn't have that. So basically I came up with a program called Magnetizing Clients. So we're actually going to show people and also look at that choice in the application to your business. Sometimes I don't choose my business. It's not right or wrong. At least I know it's not growing because I'm not choosing it. Right. I'm not blaming the business. You know what I mean? So that's starting on 20th of February also. Yeah. So we have a few things coming up. And I just want to say our call that we're doing, it's a book club. And I've just done my first book club. I adore the book clubs. And I couldn't think of right now 2 people that adore bodies so much and have no point of view. When you touch a body, you touch it from the place of not what can I get from you, what can I contribute to you, where can I touch you, how can I make life more ease for you. And you just laugh at a limitation or a block. You don't ever make it significant. You're like, oh, this is there, oh, okay. And it's like, how can I get around this? And you're like a little chihuahua finding the information that you require, getting the awareness. Yeah, that's and you're gaining the awareness so that you can actually choose again and again and again, and you facilitate the person to choose again and again and again. So I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to that one. Yeah.
Me too. It's gonna be so yummy, and we're gonna we're gonna have time for your questions, and we're gonna share our latest. I've had so many breakthroughs with sexual energies and my sex life and everything lately. So I'm just excited to share what's been going on and how you can just your sex life.
7 fountains, baby. 7 fountains. As you can see, it's not fun for us at all. Literally, John was touching me last Friday, and my body was like, oh. He's just stroke me, and it's that. Even Maureen, I was doing an SOP session, and the bodies are just become so happy and orgasmic, and we would actually like to talk to you about this. A lot of people feel that they don't deserve it, or they haven't even asked for it. The relationship that I'm in right now, I certainly didn't think that was possible. And also, when something doesn't work, we have the willingness to walk away from it and ask, hey, what else is possible, and give it space, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I went from being not totally, but contracted, and I had locked in sexual abuse and so much in my body. And when I came to access it, one of my demands were to let it go from my body and to choose something different, because I knew something different was possible. So I went from pretty contracted sexually to wow, having joy and freedom and ease and fun. And you know, the questions works with sex too. So there's so much you can expand into, and just like, yeah, we have so much to play with, Rachel. I can't wait.
Yay.
So I'm so grateful for you and for our conversation, and I will send out the recording to everybody, and of course links to your
got me all hot with the sex. You got me all hot with the sex.
Oh yeah, me too. Amazing. And maybe we can make it a wine book club, so we'll have a glass of prosecco or something. I saw on Facebook that prosecco is really good for you too, so.
And it makes semen taste really nice.
Oh wow, even more benefits. How does it get any better? I love you guys, and thank you so much for watching. Is there anything you would like to add before we quit, Rachel?
Go find someone to eat.
Go find someone to lick.
And ask your body, how much does it like to be touched? My body doesn't get happy when no one's touching me. It likes to be touched.
Yeah.
Are you an allowance of how much your body would like to be touched?
And how it would like to be touched too.
Absolutely. I'm Fessa.
Exactly. I'm mega grateful, and what else is possible now in the world? And I'll talk to you soon, Rachel and everybody.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao.